the Ministry of Health has launched yet another service under Universal Health Coverage. This new service includes conducting pap smears using liquid-based cytology, which will assist in eliminating cervical cancer.
This new method of conducting pap smears is more comfortable and more convenient. So ladies, contact your nearest wellness center to get to know about our pap smear clinics.
Turnaround time for HPV testing is 1 week. Any abnormal or positive test, there'll be a following week for cytology testing. We're also going to test for HPV strains 16 and 18, which are the most aggressive, which cause cervical cancer. We can also test for other STIs, such as herpes simplex type 1 and type 2, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and others.
Patients with an abnormal HPV and an abnormal cytology shall be referred to the colposcopy clinic. At that clinic, we shall assure that you get the proper treatment and guidance.
So come in and access this new service. Your health is our priority.
Why are you suffering from aches, pains and illnesses? When there's help for you. At Health Service Center, we offer a wide range of treatment that has been scientifically proven to help you with your aches, pains and illnesses. Our ICT machine is one of the most effective devices in the health field. It has shown positive results in many health problems such as back pains, shoulder pains, migraine headaches, pain in the knees and legs, poor circulation, arthritis, diabetic neuropathy, numbness in the feet, strokes and sports injuries. ICT, repairs, rebuild. The power to heal, the future of pain relief.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Wednesday afternoon to you, everyone. It is the 16th of October 2024. This is The Real Issues with me, Shelton Daniel, your host and producer, alongside our technical operator, Alton Jaquan Joseph. Hope you are having a good day so far. It should be a rather joyous day. It's World Food Day. Yeah, happy World Food Day to you. You eating some good food? We're very fortunate, to have things like World Food Day falling in the same month as Creole Heritage Month, and Journée Creole, where our minds will be a lot on the local cuisine and, the whole gastronomic experience that is synonymous with our culture. And I would just hope that a lot of the things that we so enjoy, that we can move towards, producing or processing more of them and so on. We are people, we like our jol salé and our jol cochon and our trotters, sauce pat cochon and the pigtail and also the curry goat and different things. I would like to see that we produce a lot more of them, produce them efficiently so that, the cost and so on are not as high, for people to have to buy a pound of goat meat for, $13, $15 and so on. It's hot. Even people who are not struggling for $1, food prices and so on, they're finding them, a bit too much for them. That is why the minimum wage, another October experience, at least to begin with, is so important for us to at least give people that little bit of wiggle room so that, they don't have to be biting the ends of their fingers and so on for every little thing, which is not wants, which is their need and so on. It's not going to solve every problem. It's not going to meet every need. But these things are so important, and another one for the month of October. And right after we finish observing World Food Day today, tomorrow we'll be observing one of the two flower festivals, Fête la Marguerite. And while it is said that La Rose is the bigger of the festivals, it tends to overshadow La Marguerite. There's some spots in St. Lucia that I know that La Marguerite is very vibrant, and the Dennery district, where I was born and spent my early childhood, Dennery Village and the Mabuya Valley. La Rose is there also, but I find Marguerite seems to be very strong there. I think Labrie is another place where you will find a very strong La Marguerite presence, but don't quote me on that one. But La Marguerite, the joy I had over the years in seeing it was that a lot of school children, very young school children were participating when they had, the national schools, flower festivals and so on at the National Cultural Center, etc., to see those young children really taking part. And that's because they were very well led by teachers who had their own cultural enthusiasm as well. And I can remember I'm a teacher at the Denier Riviere School, Zenith is her name. To me, Zenith Edward is her name. I wonder if she's related to Sean Edward. And also Mary Skelly. Many of us would know Mary Skelly as a past election candidate and so on. She's also a very committed teacher and so on, having those young people there, and Frank Norville providing the musical accompaniment and direction and so on. And it was quite a joy. So let's hope that that spirit, the cultural fervor, etc., that it is still there in our country. Speaking about Creole Heritage Month, I love the music. I love the music. Especially the fact that they continue to produce music, whether by, it continues to come out. Leonette Pierre or Jab du Plessis, all those people, they read Williams, I almost say Whitlock because I know someone called they read Whitlock over back in Antigua and so on, an ambassador and so on, equally nice lady. Davis Felix, those people who come out and turn out those Creole songs, which we have, it's just so nice to hear it. But there's just one suggestion I want to make. A lot of the Creole music that is produced, and it's not necessarily produced for Journée Creole. I think this is just a rather auspicious time for them to release it, for it to be out there, promoting it when the awareness is there. But I think this music, it hits at all times, in all seasons and so on. But like everything else, it's a good thing that it is kind of saved for the Creole season, Creole Heritage Month, because music is like certain types of food. When you're a young person and cheese was not very common, or you couldn't afford it because you were poor, you would say, boy, you feel you can eat cheese 3 times a day. You can eat cheese for breakfast, cheese for lunch, and by the time you eat through a couple ounces of cheese in the morning, you hate cheese. You don't want to see it. You realize how heavy it is, how filling it is, because it's a calcium-loaded food and so on. Calcium and protein and so on, they tend to contribute to fullness in you. A fair amount of salt as well, so when you eat it, you have to go and drink a good bit of water too, so that again fools your belly even more. It's the same way with music. You have music that is overplayed, and we see it all the time. You love a song, and after some time, you don't even want to hear that song. It's just too much for it. But that's not my complaint with the Creole music. I would like to see Creole music. A lot of them have a party kind of theme and a party kind of beat, to make you, dance and move and sway, which is a good thing. Music has to be catchy. But I would like to see some more consciousness injected inside there. Because there is a lot of our history, of our culture, of our evolution, of who we are as a people, that is implanted, that is embedded, that is contained in the Creole language and the Creole culture, A lot of them have their stories to them. Just the places in St. Lucia, that is why I'm against renaming a lot of the places. Like over time, a place that would be called that name in Vieux Fort. I'm not saying a housing development cannot be called Hiwanora Orchard, but over time is like Hiwanora Orchard replaces the centuries-old name of the place. That place around St. Jude at the back there's a name for it. I used to remember, but things fade out of your mind and so on. I'm just picking that one up. Another areas when you think of it, Babono, Aleba, Aleba ni Bon O, on the ridge of the mountain of good water, Ba Bon O, we say Blue and so on, but that is, of course, we include the articles, the definite articles, etc. and so on, or the possessive case and all of that. But when you think about them, there are names. There is a Fonso.
And now the fond is the valley of Aso. I didn't even, check what Aso means. But a lot of people don't know that just behind fond Aso, there is a Mon Aso, So, there is the valley of the Aso, whatever it is. And then there is the hill, the Mon of the Aso, en les bas, en fond. These things, they speak a lot. They talk, they tell stories, they tell their histories that are connected with them. And I would not like to see them obliterated in the name of development. That over time, some development takes place there and the development just acquires the name, that belongs. It kind of appropriates it, and then people forget what the name and its significance was, You might think that coming from Gawan, going down the hill, that the next stop will be, across the river there is Bogis, but Debara and so on. But in between there are little places that come there. One of them very interesting is Des Sablons. Now when you talk about Des Sablons, there is some connection to sand and the river sand that people got in copious quantities, I suppose, down in that area and so on. It may not be that, but I'm just saying sometimes you never know. Des Sablons, or is it Wezina and so on, they are pregnant with meanings and histories and so on. And I would like our music to celebrate those things, to capture them, to have a certain consciousness. It can still be catchy, it can still be melodious, but not all of it. Like I find there is a heavier weighting towards party music. It's like we have the soca version of I'm just putting it that way, the soca version of Creole heritage music. We have a lot of it, but the calypso version of it, and by which I mean the one that is loaded with conscious lyrics and narratives and history that you still enjoy, something like Educators Letla and so on, which tells a story, a good political commentary, won the Calypso crown that year, but it was not necessarily, you don't get the sense that it was conceived for party. People danced to it. It was good dance music too. But at the same time, it was the consciousness of the lyrics and the political narrative and all of that and all the wit that went into it. So this is my appeal. This is my wish, to see more Creole music that captures the consciousness, the history, the narrative of our culture and so on, in a manner that is not overly oriented towards party and sukwe kow and wime and this kind of thing, but that keeps alive the consciousness, because it is difficult to tell people to have pride in whatever it is, and they remain unaware, they remain disconnected from the narrative out of which that pride is supposed to arise, is supposed to grow, and is supposed to build. There is a lot in our country to be celebrated. There is a lot in our country to be captured and retold. Not necessarily by books that you have to go to the Folk Research Center library. It's a good experience, do it too. But in the music that you will hear on the bus, that you will hear in the communities and so on, that the narratives are embedded inside there, and that they can, like a mountain spring, the water that the earth sucks in and gathers, it releases it to you, that you can have that released to you. I hope I'm making sense. It's not something that I had rehearsed or thought about. But for Creole Heritage Month, it's a good time. It's a good time to develop consciousness, and coming just after, all the highs and hypes that we had about Juju, Julian Alfred Day, Juju Mania, and all that sort of thing. I really would like to see that momentum maintained, so that we don't have the compartmentalization of what makes us a people squeezed into this week and squeezed into this month and squeezed into this day, but that it becomes something that is an ongoing part of our lives. Cornelia Jacob, are you listening? Am I making any kind of sense whatsoever? Now, I was supposed to have, that's the reason why I think I'm making up my little preamble there, because I thought when I came here, right from the start, I would have had Senator Kejiana Toussaint Charlery in studio with me. But she messaged me, and we subsequently spoke on the phone to say she had a bit of an issue from Vieux Fort where she's coming, and some power interruption kind of put things off. So in kind of arranging things at her office so that she could leave and come up, it kind of put her back a little. So the last time we spoke, what was it, about half an hour ago or whatever, she was in Denry making her way up. Don't know what the traffic is like, what she'll have to cope with. We don't want her to hurry, we don't want her to rush, we want her to be safe. So Senator Toussaint, if you're listening to us, we understand the situation. Don't be frantic about it. Don't try to
rush it a little more than you normally would, we okay. Whatever time you get there and whatever time we have left, we will accommodate that. Good afternoon to you, Miguel Favre, who says, thanks for the correction. I've always said Resinard. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm the one who's wrong. But there's a place, after you pass, is it Lacroix heading towards? I think that's Lacroix. Paybush would be higher up when you go up the hill. So it's Lacroix. When you're coming from Babonneau proper, you continue along. You don't go up the hill. You continue, and after Lacroix, you would find Gara. But the story about those places is never a straight line. These are the main points that we will report on a map or we'll talk about. There isn't a straight line, and by line I don't mean the actual road and so on. I'm just talking about, people will talk about after Lacroix you get Gara. The thing is, there are a lot of other little places that have their names along the way, and it's only the people who have lived there who can tell you about it. Most people will tell you, okay, Lacroix, then Gara, then after Gara you're gonna cross whatever river and you'll get to Debara. The truth is, so many little places around that all have their little names and so on, and one of them is Wezina. There was a lady that I met there quite by accident one day, kind of lost looking for directions, and I went and I spoke to her. She's deceased now and so on, but I think her name was Ernestine, Ernestine, and very, very nice lady. And one day, I stopped to say hello, and I didn't realize her eyesight was not good. And she said, Kalu, Hukila Kalu. Then I inquired who was Kalu, and it turned out that Kalu was Calix George, Yes, Sir Calix George. Apparently was a friend of hers, and in his passing he used to stop by and say hello to her, so she figured it must be her friend Kalu who was calling out to her. But it was me, and we kind of developed a good little vibe, Ernestine of Wezina. And, so I got to know back in those days a little bit more about the names of those places. And again, I always appreciate it because there is a lot of history, involved in those places. And you look at the place and you wonder, how come a Monrepo, can have a Loba and Laho and, and a Cooley Town and a Setmawi, and a Montlouis and all these kind of little places, and you look at them and the places are particularly touching each other. The reality is that I mentioned straight line a while ago. These places were very distant from each other because there were no straight lines, because we didn't have roads, we didn't have paved roads or footpaths. It was the Tishi, the little trail that had to wind and twist and turn, and this one going around a big Boatna tree, and this one going around a Mube tree and a big mango tree. And I'm telling you, getting from one place to another was a distance. It was a task. It was really, really a journey to get from them. The other thing is that they were scary places, because you'd be surprised how easy it was to get lost in the woods, in the forest that covered those places back in those days. That if you didn't get your bearings and you didn't know it well, is when you call out somebody, older people and so on, who knew it, who had to come and get you, because you would be going around in circles. And thus came a lot of the stories about the Ajables or Ajables Pedme, and this does what it is. On Ajableski Pedme and so on. And it's just because of how dense it was. Don't talk for at nights when you had to walk there in the night. If you had to go and make some message or whatever, and woe be if you were alone. That place, if it were already so dense and dark during the day, you can imagine in the night how pitch black it was. And the night has a little way when all other noises of the day are cancelled out. You are alone with the squeaking and the creaking and the groaning of trees. The same tree, you see in the day. But in the night, the sound is coming to you so clearly, and some branching, and oh my goodness me, you swear is a gaji, is something, is an Ajables coming for you and so on. And sometimes even just the shapes of the outlines of those trees, it was something else. You would think nothing of it because you see the outline or the silhouette of a tree against the daytime sky. Come on, it's a tree. But in the night, you look at that same tree and you look out the outline and you see a big beast and a little hole in the canopy of that tree and so on. You can see a little bit of light. So that's a big eye that is staring at you, and everything is so scary. So sometimes when you look at this place and you go to Lapwet, and the distance between Fiadel and Monboade, whatever it is and so on, you look and there is Not great distance in a straight line, but the fact is there were no straight lines in those days. There were the Tishime and the shortcut, which was always a very long cut. When time came down and people cut down the trees to build their houses for the banana plantations that took over and so on, then you realize the distance is really just 100 yards, a couple hundred yards. But when you had to do that twisting road and so on, oh my goodness, it was quite a distance. But that was the fun of those days, crossing the rivers and so on. And sometimes you send to do something, but you figure maybe you can bag a little zanji or a little quibish bassin, so you stop there, or you see a back, or you see some kind of thing that you figure you can catch whatever and so on, and you linger and you dally in those areas. And when you should have been back a long time, nightfall catches you, and under those big trees, nightfall is really blackfall, you know. Anyway, yeah, Miguel, it's Wezina as far as I know. Okay. Okay, someone just sent a message to say that Senator Shari asked me to inform you that she's in town and will be with you in a few. Okay, that's nice poetry. With you in a few. Okay, didn't even realize that. Like I said, someone said something about that's between Fonsault and Gawan. Okay, get you. But is there a road from Fonsault to Gawan? To me, I don't know. To me, after. Okay. All right. Anyway, we got a call coming from. On my phone, it says Honorable Richard Frederick. Now, Honorable Frederick must know I'm on air now. So once he calls me, he going on air. Mr. Frederick, good afternoon to you.
I know you are on air, and I know you're grappling with the problems of naming the various places in St. Lucia Creole style. So, I figured, well, since the senator is late, I just want to say something, Shelton, for a minute or so.
Sure.
I was sent a voice clip earlier, a news clip rather, earlier. And it is very, very disturbing that Guy Joseph, of all persons, would call my prime minister, the prime minister of this country, the prime minister who has impartially distributed the resources of this country, irrespective of race, color, creed, or political affiliation. Guy Joseph will call him retarded and wicked. Shelton, quite honestly, when I listened to the clip, it sent my blood boiling, because that is the same Guy Joseph who, having collected resources for the country during COVID, say if you do not eat, you will not starve. That is the same Guy Joseph who in Parliament, when the Prime Minister was in opposition and they were complaining about how basically they were being deprived, Guy Joseph said, if it's for that you cry, you just start to cry. And today, a man, Bradley, who is a member of the opposition, stood in Parliament and agreed, accepted, concurred that he received $100,000 every quarter. A year, 4 quarters. He has been in Parliament for a minimum 3 years, which is 12 quarters. That means he has received at least $1.2 million at the hands of Philip Joseph Joseph Pierre, a man who was deprived by Alan Chasley. You turn around and call that man wicked.
Yeah. Just the same.
It's so unfortunate, man, Shelton. And trust me, when I listen to that clip, of course I'm given instructions to put various bullets and stuff together. Guy cannot even say the word three. He puts out his entire town as though he's trying to lure a woman into coming and embrace him. You know, you look at my prime minister who has all kinds of degrees, who went to St. Mary's College. You were a bus driver. There's nothing wrong with being a bus driver. I was a police officer. I sold ice cream. I understand that. But you don't question a man who is inherently 10 times as intelligent as you are, and refer to him as being retarded. I cannot believe it.
Yeah.
You know, and every time I believe I would have a show that is not that engaging and not that exciting, those guys provide the right fodder. So St. Lucians, listen up for tomorrow night. Shelton, goodbye.
All right, thank you very much. You know, this is the kind of abusive epithets that appears to be all some people. And I have to say it is usually, I find, coming from the United Workers' Party. We understand that politics is not a kid gloves game. Politics is not a lovey-dovey, kissy-kissy, you know, chummy-chummy kind of game. I understand that. It has its rough and tumble to it. You don't expect anything differently. But don't tell me you cannot find language that is not so uncouth and indelicate and uncultured and so on repeatedly. If it's not a non-mama language, it's a, you know, it goes on and on and on. Last time it was the Prime Minister is nasty, the way he keeps his constituency office. Now he's a retard, and Richard is right. Some time ago I heard a gentleman on Sky FM, I think it's the same Mr. Felix de Turville that they call Champagne. Don't know him all that well, we've probably seen each other. Upset with Richard Frederick for something and publicly, idiot, jackass. And I'm saying, okay, it's democracy, I understand. But is that the way you want to come when you are an aspiring candidate to sell yourself to people? That you, of all people, want to come and call Richard Frederick an idiot and a jackass? I mean, come on. Champagne stacked up against Richard Frederick. Champagne calls Richard Frederick. And I wouldn't like for Richard to call him like that either. To me, you can give people picong and you can give them jabs in their ribcage without it being continuously abusive and demeaning and derogatory, you know, as those people feel they have to do. And that is when people run out of your manpower. They run out of talks. Now, I don't care about Mr. Joseph's being bus driver or he being whatever, you know. I mean, I understand the gentleman, improved himself. He got master's degree and whatever it is. But that is all the more reason. You're the holder of master's degree now. You have elevated yourself. You were a minister of government for 2 non-continuous terms, but a parliamentarian for 3 continuous terms. You must have been exposed in your travels, in your interactions, in the conferences, even in your contributions to Parliament, to a higher level of expression. You know, a higher level of expression. And when you see people reach a stage where in order for them to connect with their audience, they have to reduce their public pronouncements and communication to the lowest common denominator, that they seem to have no kind of awareness of, much less respect for, the decorum of public office, the decorum of public, recognition and so on that they have to go to the lowest common denominator of expression. This is not about Philip J. Pierre the man. This is about Philip J. Pierre, who is in the office of Prime Minister of St. Lucia. When you go calling him nasty on one occasion and a retard on the other occasion, yes, you're taking the freedom of expression, but you are taking the freedom of expression in its worst, in its most indelicate, in its most uncouth expression for someone who was a minister yourself. And people need to pay attention to that. If people do not have respect for the decorum of public office, for the decorum of public regard and recognition that they have, they are not going to have respect for the offices if you elect them to it. They are not going to have respect for the government. They're not going to have respect for the country because they're already showing you who they are. It's worse in the case of Mr. Guy Joseph because he's been there already. He's not someone like, who's aspiring like a Peter Chico, who I think even then Peter Chico has been controller of customs. So he should have a certain higher sense of dignity and self-respect and respect for the public, than is being shown. But Mr. Guy Joseph been there. He done that. He been a most senior minister, a very senior minister in the 2 administrations that he has served. Partly under Sir John Compton in the first instance, then under Stephenson King, then in opposition, then back in government under Mr. Alan Chastney as the veritable number 2. There has to be a sense of dignity and decorum, that my public pronouncements must connect with people in a manner that conveys and projects respect and that inspires and draws respect, elicits is the word, respect from them, but nothing so. If being in parliament for 15 years and in government in the aggregate for 10 years have not made you a better person, have not made you a better person in that respect and so on, then you will never regard the office, whether for its decorum or for its integrity. Senator Toussaint is here, but we're due for a break now, okay? Let's take it, and when we come back, we'll have the senator on, and of course later on interacting with you for the calls and messages.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
The Ministry of Health has launched yet another service under universal health coverage. This new service includes conducting pap smears using liquid-based cytology, which will assist in eliminating cervical cancer.
This new method of conducting pap smears is more comfortable and more convenient. So ladies, contact your nearest wellness center to get to know about our pap smear clinics.
Turnaround time for HPV testing is 1 week. Any abnormal or positive test, there'll be a following week for cytology testing. We're also going to test for HPV strains 16 and 18, which are the most aggressive, which cause cervical cancer. We can also test for other STIs, such as herpes simplex type 1 and type 2, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and others.
Patients with an abnormal HPV and an abnormal cytology shall be referred to the colposcopy clinic. At that clinic, we shall assure that you get the proper treatment and guidance.
So come in and access this new service. Your health is our priority.
Why are you suffering from aches, pains, and illnesses? When there's help for you at Health Service Center, we offer a wide range of treatment that has been scientifically proven to help you with your aches, pains, and illnesses. Our ICT machine is one of the most effective devices in the health field. It has shown positive results in many health problems, such as back pains, shoulder pains, migraine headaches, pain in the knees and legs, poor circulation, arthritis, diabetic neuropathy, numbness in the feet, strokes and sports injuries. ICT, repairs, rebuild, the power to heal, the future of pain relief.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into and staying with the Real Issues on this Wednesday. It is the 16th of October, 2024. And I'll say again, it's World Food Day. Happy World Food Day to you. You're welcome, to invite me to some place where there is, some super good special chow and so on. And then you can invite me maybe every Wednesday thereafter, because it's Creole Heritage Month, to sample all kind of nice local Creole dishes that I'd forgotten about, and have the massive one for me, on Journée Creole itself. I have space for that, don't you? It's amazing how people believe that I'm big because I eat mountains of food. Don't ever ask to start being affected by the hormonal, and different issues and so on. that can contribute to weight gain even when you're eating a minimum amount of food and so on. The things that can change in the body as a result of various factors. And no matter what you do, your body has this way of holding on, to its calories and so on, and not really metabolizing them as it normally would, as I was in my younger days when I was slim, gym, fit athlete and all of that. And that's for those things. And try not to ridicule people when you don't really know what's going on. Like they say, opasav kisakabuye akanawiyo, dilo opa memsav kisakabuye da shodio. Anyway, Leo, thank you for telling me that it's between Fongaso and Garo. I was a little confused because when you said between, I was thinking beyond the Fongaso, because to me, after Fongaso is Chassin, that you get in the Babono area. But I think what you were telling me, I suspect you're talking about Des Sablons. It's sandwiched somewhere between Fongaso, right, which is facing south, broadly speaking, and Garo, which would be facing north part of Babono. I suspect that's what you were trying to explain to me or something like that. So, but it was just something in passing, not really intended to be a lesson in locations and communities and so on. That making the point that a lot of those places, the names are reminiscent and representative of a history, a narrative. If we can delve into the names, I think I may have told you some time ago, that Monrepo, place where I was raised, literally translated from the French is my peace, mon repos, my repos, my peace and my repose and so on. And the story of it is said that it is some Roman Catholic priest or whatever who was stationed there and who loved to serve in mon repos, in that place that he called it mon repos. It was his peace, it was his rest, etc. Don't know if it's true. Some of them have their little myths and so on in it. But Alvino Reynolds says, and I don't know, to me, Des Sablons is somewhere when you go down there, etc., etc. Okay. Alvino says Des Sablons is in Bourgis. Okay. Does it have anything to do with sand or river sand or anything of that kind, Alvino? I'm kind of hazy. I used to lime in those places quite a lot, but over time, I suppose you grow a little older and you don't duive and pomne like you used to. Okay. Good afternoon to you, Terence Fenelon, who says that he's trying to follow, but he is on national duty at a Unipass meeting. All right, all the best to you, Terence. We know that you are still someone who is in great demand because of your experience as a former educator, former school principal, and so on. And by the way, Terence has notified me that he will be here with me again tomorrow. He'll try to come on Thursday as much as possible. So, enough talking. Senator Toussaint.
Yes.
What are we here to talk about? I think, let me get a little in. I think when we speak about strongholds and places that have never wavered from supporting one of St. Lucia's two main political parties, our minds default until 2021 to Miku North as being the UWP's place, can't touch you, place and so on. And when we think of the Labour Party, we think of Labrie as being the Labour Party's, Labourie, that this is the Labour Party's can't touch you constituency. But in truth, there is another one that's as old as Labrie. Tell us about Vieux Fort North. 50 years of Labour in Vieux Fort North. Like Labrie, they have never wavered.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So we're very, very excited, and I'm very happy that you have me here today. Remarkably so, just a few days before the open session of conference to be held on Sunday in Bellevue in Vieux Fort North. So it's no coincidence that these things are happening. And so, Shelton, we're very excited about that. 50 years that the people of Vieux Fort North have continued to show their unwavering support to the St. Lucia Labour Party. 15 years of progress under the St. Lucia Labour Party. 2 parliamentary reps in the previous one of Sicily. And the baton was handed over to Honorable Moses Jabatis, and he has continued to keep the vibes and the hard work of Labour alive in the constituency of Vieux Fort North. 50 years is definitely a milestone. When we had our own Vieux Fort North conference not too long ago, we recognized that this year is the year when we celebrate 50, and we are just very excited about it, Shelton.
If my memory serves me right, and I'm still a fairly young man, older than you by far,
By very far, I think.
Yes. I think that constituency was carved out in 1974.
Yes.
When many people felt that John Compton felt he was under pressure from the Labour Party on its advance under the leadership of Alan Reesy, and having firebrands like George Odlum and Peter Josie and John Odlum and Ken Foster and so many of those people coming, that if he had gone into the election with the constituencies as they were, and I think there were about 10 constituencies, that he would have lost. So he creatively, many people say, engineered the thing to split it. Denry North, Denry South, Mickle North, Mickle South, Vieux Fort North, Vieux Fort South. And I think the very first MP for the newly carved out constituency of Vieux Fort North is a gentleman who has gone to the great beyond. He served as Governor General.
Yes.
How much have you been able to learn and read on and know that you can recite to me about the late?
In terms of reading, I don't think that our political history is well written, Shelton.
Okay.
It is something that we talk about in the Labour Party quite often in terms of the rich legacy of the Labour Party. I mean, some of the more obvious things about stemming from breaking up from the Labour movement and so on. Some of these things are a little more well documented, but certainly there are stories that are still left to be told. I mean, even me as a youngster growing up, I grew up hearing people say much, of course, way before I was eligible to vote, but I've always had an interest in politics from very, very little.
Okay.
I grew up hearing people say, you know, why did Vieux Fort North people vote for Cicely when Cicely has done nothing for Vieux Fort North? And as I became older and I started asking the questions, I started, you know, poking my grandmother's brains a little and so on. You know, the stories started coming up. There are some amazing stories. I am from the community of VJ in Vieux Fort North.
Right.
And the story of how we were able to get a road connecting us to
That was the place I used to like to drive through.
Okay.
VJ, you know, sometimes coming from Vieux Fort for no reason. I would drive up
but it's a beautiful community, Shelton.
I drive through VJ and come out by the other end.
At Canals, on the Canals Highway.
Exactly,
yeah.
yes.
So when you hear the stories, for example, of there was no connecting road between VJ and Pierrot, yet still the Sir John Compton, coming from his farm at Mao, he actually visited the community of Kako, which is part of the L1 polling division in Vieux Fort North, quite often.
Okay. I'm sure I have an idea what, you know, he would have liked to have, but we're not going there.
Yes, we're not going there.
You know, Compy was Compy.
So it means that he passed through the community of VJ en route to Kako. But there was a juncture in the road where it was not motorable. And even when there were plans to do that road, from the stories I've been told, there was not a plan to create a connecting road between these two communities, Shelton.
Okay.
And it was through the advocation and being very adamant that Cicely was able to get the government then to agree to do that connecting road.
So the history that you know, it begins with Cicely.
Yes, that is the history that I know. I don't know much about.
Did you ever hear about? Oh, okay, all right. Because
Yes,
I was
I know
about to
that name
tell you that the very first MP,
Yes,
Labour
was
MP for the
Boswell
newly
Williams.
formed was Boswell
Yes,
Williams
yes.
from 74 to 79.
Yes, definitely.
And he stepped down, I mean, because he became the Governor General of St. Lucia after
Yes,
the
at
Labour
the
Party
time,
won in
right.
79.
Yeah.
Cicely took over and carried it for decades, you know,
Yes.
a couple decades and so on, I think, you know, yeah. Well, go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, there are, like I said, there are beautiful stories of how the Labour Party, albeit the fact that we spent much of the time in opposition, were really the true advocates of the change and development of that constituency.
Okay.
And I believe that the people of Vieux Fort North in the majority know that, and so that is why they've continued to support the St. Lucia Labour Party
right.
for 50 years.
Okay. Boswell had a brother who was also the MP for Vieux Fort South, almost at the same time with him, although, you know, some
Bruce.
Coco Macacree in the 74 elections denied him the seat, which inspired Rick Wynn's It'll Be Alright
Yes,
in the morning and so on. So Bruce Williams,
Yes.
you know, William Bruce Williams, his actual name, was the MP for Vieux Fort South, a well-loved man after whom Bruceville, you know, is named and so on. You know, Daddy Bruce, Uncle Bruce is what it's about everybody. He used to call him likable man, even by those who did not support him. But let's talk a bit more about Vieux Fort North. I've always found it to be so wonderfully diverse. You know, a place where you can find so many different agricultural crops. It's like the bananas. It's like you know, other things that they grow, and they try to do it in sometimes in hospitable places, the topography of the land, slopes and so on, and all of that, the many different communities that you will get there and so on. Again, the diversity of the names, you know, if it's not a Fonjoie there, it's a Zabo over there, it's a Monkain over there, you know, and all this kind of thing. Tell us about what it is about the constituency from which you hail that strikes you the most. Now, there may be more than one. Tell us about them, yeah.
So, like you said, I think the diversity that exists within the constituency, Shelton, you've often heard that Bellevue, which is part of Vieux Fort North, is the cultural capital of St. Lucia.
Okay.
And of course, we've produced persons like the recently deceased Ramopolio, and many of even his grandchildren, persons like Sly. I don't know if you're aware that Sly is a close relative of Ramopolio.
Okay.
And so the culture has remained quite strong and intact in that community. And then you have other communities like Peru and Grace and so on. And again, the resource base of this constituency, Shelton, we're surrounded by water. So of course, like you say, the agriculture has been quite alive there. Vieux, where I am from, is known agriculturally for its cassava production. Although over the last few years we don't see as many persons, because we know that cassava production and especially if you go into cassava processing, it's quite a technical, it's a lot of hard work. I know because my grandparents produced a cassava. There is still a plantain in the yard at my grandmother, but we were afraid of using it, Shelton, because it's a lot of hard work.
Yes.
You know, and of course there is bananas, there is the plantain. We have quite a few.
In the days when I was fit, that was because of activities like that. Have the wabot, you know, in the plantain, and stirring that, especially when you just put that grated cassava,
oh my God,
and loop, you know, so you had to really be straining and pushing hard. Remember that, you know.
There is the canals area where there are still quite a few, perhaps not as viable anymore, but banana plantations down in that area. So there's quite a bit, Shelton, quite a bit. We have our schools who are doing quite well in terms of especially the common entrance now, CPA. So there is quite a bit in Vieux Fort North.
All right, wonderful stuff and so on. Is Caco related to the cocoa for true? Is that the issue growth, or is it something that just came out?
I am not sure. I am really not sure, but there is a Caco.
There's a Caco in Babuno.
Yes, there is a Caco there. If you think about it, though, that along the way, because Caco is just before Vigie, so it means that I pass there regularly on my way home. There are in some areas where there are quite a few cocoa trees.
All right, so it might have been at a time when it was a big deal and so on. Because even as I talk about that long paddle that you use in the foreign and so on, that they call Wabotla, I think. You know, you ask yourself that there's a place in Sufre they call Rabot, you know, are they related and so on, you know, and then you begin to see possible connections in names and places and things and all of that that come about and so on. So, are any celebrations planned for Vieux Fort North by the Labour Party constituency branch in that area? Maybe you had already, but
nothing major has really been in terms of final plans for it. We're still working alongside our parliamentary rep, Honorable Moses Jabatis, but there definitely will be a few things. And like I said, one of the big things is sort of a grand opening of the celebration with the open leg of the conference on Sunday at 3 p.m.
Wonderful. The main road in Vieux Fort North should be named after Cecil Lee. That's a message that is coming from a former customs officer. I didn't even know he was an enthusiast for Cecil Lee, but he said that. And there's a message which is not so serious, you know, but a guy called Miguel says, "Tell her I'm looking out for that special smile just for me." When I look at the lady's hand, I see a massive ring there, and it can't be a ring that's there for jokes. So, you know, special smile just for you.
Hi, Miguel.
Fella, you behave yourself. You behave yourself. Senator Toussaint, what else is hot? What else is happening? It's Creole Heritage Month. Vieux Fort North has always been right up there in things, you know, cultural and things having to do with heritage and Creole. And you have the MP who, I think, apart from previous Damien Greaves, I can't think of anybody who has been a member of cabinet, a parliamentarian, who has been more enthusiastic about culture and things like that. So tell us, Creole Heritage Month, is there anything that people can think Vieux Fort North as a place that is always right up there out front?
Well, there has always been, during the Creole Heritage Month, there's always been, you can pass around the constituency, and definitely in the small restaurants and so on, that you will be able to serve some good Creole food. I mean, just on Sunday, there is a foundation who, the founder of this foundation, Furnace Foundation, is from the community of Bellevue. Most of the directors on that foundation are also from that community, doing some good work in the community. And they had a well-received, well-attended show on Sunday called Jazz Meets Creole. So definitely we had some avot service and some of that cultural drumming, and we know what avot service delivers. So we enjoyed a bit of that on Sunday. So there were persons not just from the constituency, but persons from all over St. Lucia were in Bellevue on Sunday enjoying some of that good Creole stuff. And I heard the MC announce that there was good Creole food, and there were no grill, there was no fried chicken and no whatever. So there was some good bouillon and roast bakes and so on going on there. So definitely there was a bit of the Creole vibe there that started on Sunday, and so we expect that there will be quite a bit more as the days go by, Shelton.
Do you think that the death of Ramopolion would have left a void in terms of the cultural heartbeat of Vieux Fort North, or do you think that there were enough people turned out, young people, enthusiasts and so on, who have that kind of spirit in them, that while Ramo will always be missed, but the pulse of Vieux Fort North, where culture and heritage and so on are concerned, that it is not going to in any way simmer down?
I mean, definitely somebody who was very instrumental in protecting or in experiencing, helping us, the younger ones, experience the culture, would surely be missed when they're gone. But I think we're sufficiently able to continue with that legacy. I mean, you mentioned just a while ago the parliamentary rep, Honorable Moses Jabatis, who is the taboo, involved in the taboo melee and involved in that type of cultural singing and so on. And I mentioned earlier in terms of the family members, the descendants of Ramopolion, such as Sly, who definitely is really into the music vibe, and he's into quite a few genres. And so I think definitely that there have been enough that has been picked up and that has continued, sufficient enough to continue even after the passing of Ramopolion. There is Mr. Sinais, who I think I saw a news clip maybe yesterday, that Creole singing competition that Gregory Sinais placed second in. He also hails from that constituency. And so I think that we can sufficiently carry on and keep the culture alive and well. There is a very vibrant Laros group, although there was a lull for a few years, but you know how they tell you Kiltia and Zoyo. So definitely that was revamped, and they made a good showing at the Laros Festival in August of this year. So I think there is sufficient that the we younger folks have enough to go by to carry us through the next couple of decades.
All right. Senator Toussaint, you are a North Vieux Fortian, a Vieux Fort North person. You are a senator. You are also someone who manages one of the very important, we might say, institutions or areas of business and economic activity, a cooperative. And I want you to tell us about you, the senator, and you, the manager of a cooperative society. One of the most desirable planks for maintaining development at the level of the ordinary people and so on. We know the big companies, corporations and so on, stockholder driven. It is said that, inadvertently or not, ordinary people are pushed on the margins. Cooperatives, credit unions, they try to be inclusive and to bring people. As a young person taking on those kinds of, we might say, heavy responsibilities and so on, and doing them well and so on, what do you think really prepared you for it as someone who came out of Vieux Fort North?
So, Shelton, I've always been very involved in community service. I think it was something that I don't know, I just love helping people. I love assisting people. I come from a very humble background, and so I grew up in a community setting. I grew up with my grandparents in an extended family, and so definitely having understood very, very early that the reliance on just, for example, my parents or my immediate family, there definitely were things that were lacking, that you got the support from, whether it was from your teachers, whether it was from the wider community. And so from very, very early, I told myself that I want to be somebody who can give back to my community, and by extension my country. So this is where it all started. So if you talk to my past teachers, they will tell you that from very, very early at school, good or bad, I was always the class prefect, or the one taking charge of the class in the absence of the teacher. So there was always that leadership role that I took on from very, very early. I was involved in my church community from early, serving as a reader, an animator, a catechist.
All of that, yes.
At the Vieux Primary School, even when I had my siblings attending the Vieux Primary School, I served on the PTA of that school as the assistant secretary on the PTA, and then the secretary. So it has always been for me, it has always been serving my community. And so those who know me and know my background would not have been surprised that I eventually made it to the Parliament of St. Lucia. And so even my background in terms of my work, I remember, there are some things that you remember very, very clearly. I remember I have been with the cooperative, the Fisherman's Cooperative, for almost 15 years now. Or it may have been 15 years this year. I stopped counting at some point. But I remember when I was being interviewed by a panel of the directors of the cooperative, and there are certain questions that they asked, and the question of how would I relate to a group of people, that is the fishermen, who have always been considered very difficult to work with. And definitely my background in community service was one of the things I think that put me in favor with the directors, that led me to be able to then be employed as first the operations supervisor, now the operations manager of the Fisherman's Cooperative.
All right.
So my background definitely has a lot to do with it.
This is absolutely wonderful, and I keep stressing, I've never asked your age. It's not the difficult thing to find out, but you look a very young person, and to have those kinds of responsibilities, it indicates that there is a level of trust. A lot of times the cooperative movement in St. Lucia has been severely undermined from within by people who believe that, for some reason they can't wait to really build up the wealth and the stocks, that they have to push their hand in it, and there's a lot of that kind of thing. And sadly, a lot of them, they get away with it because people feel, no say no man, what you come in and to say family. So fi next up, ito next thing, wife and mama, sakai kase che, and this kind of, a lot of people get away with it. And Senator Tuse, I believe, I am convinced, and I'm counting on you to lead the way, to provide the light, the enlightenment for people to have a different kind of mindset when it comes to the need for integrity, when it comes to the need for upholding and honoring trust that is placed. And from everything I've heard, you have been doing that. I want to congratulate you and encourage you.
Thank you,
to continue. Too much of this spirit of bubble and this kind of thing, it has wrecked a lot of promising community things, even from little banana groups and so on, community field pack groups and so on, of people always wanting to feel that, and the excuse it took mon cafe call you so na fe call, that was the phrase of the time. And the integrity that I am hearing and I'm getting, that you keep it up, Senator.
It has definitely been a struggle, Shelton. I mean, Goodwill Fishermen's Cooperative in Vieux Fort, where I manage, is one of the eldest fishermen's cooperatives, registered sometime in the 1960s, so way past 50 years old. And when I came into the cooperative, it was struggling.
Yes.
And not because it had not had good times. It had good times. When you hear people and persons who had been connected to the cooperative from its inception, and at that point, I want to extend condolences to the family of a gentleman called Mr. Dice, who passed away a few days ago, who was, together with his wife, Miss I.S., two of the persons who were part of the founding members of that cooperative. And when you heard the stories, Shelton, of Miss I.S. telling you back in the day how she boarded the fishing vessel to go to St. Vincent and to go to Martinique to purchase supplies for the cooperative. There is really a history there to be told.
Yes.
However, through exactly what you mentioned earlier, the cooperative fell on really bad times, really bad times. And so it has been a bit of a struggle. We're not where we want to be, but it has definitely been through a lot of hard work that we've been able to get to where we are. Because you find a situation where the members of the cooperative, they don't really care about the day-to-day runnings. All they want to know is that there is something that they could get back on what they've invested. And the reality is that attitude, that laid back attitude of the members, and it's something that happens all around. I mean, you see even in the credit union cooperatives, when AGMs are called sometimes and they have to be postponed, they have to be redated because you don't have a quorum to attend the meeting where the business of the cooperative is being discussed, but yet still people are out there spewing all sorts of aspersions on people's character, Shelton. And because of that laid back attitude of the members, persons who have been given responsibility to move the cooperative forward have been able to get away with doing a lot that they're not supposed to do at the expense of the little man who has put his 25 cents together with the 25 cents of the other man in order to yield a return. So that is the reality of it. But we are fighting on, Shelton. We are fighting on. Sometimes I want to give up. Honestly, there are days when I literally drag myself to work because I am tired sometimes of fighting. But my conviction is that if I give up, then the hope that a lot of others have placed in me. I mean, we have a network within the Fishermen's Cooperative, an umbrella body, St. Lucia Fisher Folk Cooperative, and I succeeded Mr. Alva Lynch as the administrative assistant of the corporate of St. Lucia Fisher Folk Cooperative. And so, although I know I was entering very big shoes in that of Mr. Alva Lynch, it meant that when I was nominated to serve in that post, it was because there was a level of trust and confidence that was placed in my ability to do that. And so sometimes I wonder if I give up on the very people who entrusted that responsibility in my care, then what? So I'm pushing through.
All right, wonderful. You know, it's not just the mainline cooperatives and so on that got it. Even little things like the community society, like we would say, the burial funds and so on. You know, people were doing bubble.
You can buy your chalk.
Seriously. And a lot of times this thing fell apart, and they were always so important. They served such a good role to the little man and so on, to help them when they had a death in the family and whatever, larger society and so on, and you know, people making off with it and so on. Before we go for the break and we open the phone line, let's talk a little again. Jacqueline, maybe you can put a flyer that I sent you about the open session of the 2024 annual conference of delegates of the St. Lucia Labour Party under the theme Forward Together for More Progress. And we will see that they have, you know, a very eminent, you know, guest in the person of the Prime Minister of our southern neighbor, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. While Jacqueline puts up, you know, it's already on the screen. Diana, would we want to talk a little more again so people can hear about the open segment of the SLP annual conference of delegates, which significantly is taking place at the Bellevue Combined School in Vieux Fort North. And as when we started, Vieux Fort North, very special alongside library. 50 continuous unbroken years of conviction in standing as a constituency represented by the Labour Party. I've probably stolen your thunder, but I'm sure there's so much to say that you don't mind. Yes. Yes,
so we're really inviting all our supporters, members, and well-wishers to Bellevue on Sunday I have experienced quite a few open conference sessions, and they have really been very, very dynamic. And I think our guest speaker is also geared to really set or keep up with that pace, Shelton. So we're really inviting all our supporters, all our members, all well-wishers to converge on in the community of Bellevue on Sunday for that experience. I mean, it is going to be streamed live, carried on, I think, Choice TV, and of course on our social media handles. But it's a really different experience to actually be in the space, to be in that sea of red Shelton. And I feel that Babuno was just the other day, but it was practically a year ago at the last open conference. And when you walk into these spaces in that sea of red Shelton, it does something else altogether for you. And I think that it's quite punctuated at this juncture where the St. Lucia Labour Party, under the stewardship of Honorable Philip J. Pierre, that there is so much to celebrate. So I think it's really going to be a celebration, Shelton, on Sunday of the work of the St. Lucia Labour Party, especially over the last 3 years, but definitely over the lifespan of representation from the St. Lucia Labour Party, not just in the constituency of Vieux Fort North, but in St. Lucia by extension. And there is a lot to celebrate. In 3 years, the amount of projects and policies that have been geared to putting people first in this country is really something. So we are, like I said earlier, we are in a celebratory mode, and so we're hoping that we could celebrate with the rest of St. Lucia, the rest of our Labour Party family on Sunday in Bellevue.
With Comrade Ralph Gonzalez.
Yes,
Comrade Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, the Honorable Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines since 2001, if I'm not mistaken. More than 20 years, more than 20 years, unbroken years as the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The people have never, despite sometimes people have claimed that he's finished. He's on the ropes, especially after a multi-issue referendum that he called and he lost. Oh, there were people, all sorts of pundits and pontificators, Ralph Gonzalez is done. And he has held on in St. Vincent, just like Roosevelt's carried in the Commonwealth of Dominica. And they're all people who are in solidarity with us, leading labor movements, labor parties, labor governments in the country. And you know what's striking about it, as in St. Lucia? The commitment to doing for the people. And when you go, Gianna talks about that sea of red. Every labor leader I have known, when they see that sea of red, it doesn't cause them to become pompous and full of themselves. They look at those people and they say, boy, we really have to come through and do right by those people. That's what comes to their mind. I've spoken to all of them, and they tell me sometimes their emotions almost get the better of them when they look at those people and they say, boy, look at those people coming out, the faith that they have in the Labour Party.
And we expect no different on Sunday.
Exactly.
I mean, with Honorable Philip J. Pierre, our political leader and the Prime Minister of this country, I mean, everything that he has done over the last 3 years as the Prime Minister of this country, together with his cabinet of ministers, has been for the people. And although we expect that it's mostly going to be Labour Party supporters in Bellevue on Sunday, but we're inviting everybody, Shelton. Everybody in every nook and cranny of St. Lucia has been touched by the policies and the programs of this government somehow or the other, directly or indirectly. Whether it's your child, your parent, your nene, your parent, whether it's in education, whether it is in healthcare, everybody has been touched somehow or the other. And so we are inviting even those who have not historically been affiliated with the St. Lucia Labour Party. We are open to embracing you. It's the open session, so we don't have a delegate list that we're checking through to allow you entry. This is not the closed session, and so we're inviting even those people to show a level of solidarity for the government of St. Lucia, because you have benefited from the policies and the programs, the social programs of this government.
All right, we're going for a break, but not before we say hello, hail up, big up to somebody I'm sure you know very well, Kejiana. Her name is Angie Kedu, and I think she works in the constituency office.
Yes, doing some very hard work in the constituency, continuing to connect with our constituents in the constituency. Hi, Sister Angie.
Okay, Miguel, your call will have to wait until after the break. We'll open the phone lines, and if you can't get the main line, you can reach me on my phone, and we'll hear from you with our guest, Senator Kejiana Toussaint Shalry, in studio with us today. Back in a moment.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
The Ministry of Health has launched yet another service under universal health coverage. This new service includes conducting pap smears using liquid-based cytology, which will assist in eliminating cervical cancer.
This new method of conducting pap smears is more comfortable and more convenient. So ladies, contact your nearest wellness center to get to know about our pap smear clinics.
Turnaround time for HPV testing is 1 week. Any abnormal or positive test, there will be a following week for cytology testing. We also going to test for HPV strains 16 and 18, which are the most aggressive, which cause cervical cancer. We can also test for other STIs, such as herpes simplex type 1 and type 2, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and others.
Patients with an abnormal HPV and an abnormal cytology shall be referred to the colposcopy clinic. At that clinic, we shall assure that you get the proper treatment and guidance.
So come in and access this new service. Your health is our priority.
Why are you suffering from aches, pains, and illnesses? When there's help for you at Health Service Center, we offer a wide range of treatment that has been scientifically proven to help you with your aches, pains, and illnesses. Our ICT machine is one of the most effective devices in the health field. It has shown positive results in many health problems, such as back pains, shoulder pains, migraine headaches, pain in the knees and legs, poor circulation, arthritis, diabetic neuropathy, numbness in the feet, strokes and sports injuries. ICT, repairs, rebuild, the power to heal, the future of pain relief.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell, Vieux Fort, Restorer Pharmacy, Soufre, Knights Med, Miku, Lay By Bar, The Morn, Dexter's Place, Jeremy Street, Castries, Citygate Bar, The City opposite the market, Plants Place, Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket, Soufre, The Release Stress Bar, Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar, Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop, opposite the Grosile Bus Stop, Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
McDowell Supplements, an effective way to ensure you and your loved ones are getting the daily recommended intake of essential vitamins, minerals, and other important nutrients necessary for optimal health. Naturally, we carry an array of health and wellness supplements. McDowell's Immune Booster enhances your body's defense to fight colds and flu, boosts your immune system, prevents viruses and other airborne diseases. McDowell's Colon Cleanser prevents constipation, helps in removing toxins from the colon, detoxifies the body, and regulates your bowel movements. McDowell's Prostate Health prevent the enlargement of the prostate, improve urinary flow, and reduce frequent urination, especially at night. Moringa oleifera capsules are rich in minerals like calcium, potassium, zinc, magnesium, iron, and copper, vitamins like beta-carotene, vitamin A, vitamin B such as folic acid, vitamin C, D, and E. McDowell's Potassium Complex, used for treating and preventing low potassium levels, high blood pressure, preventing stroke, and aid in weight loss. McDowell's Triple Magnesium relaxes the muscles, relieves cramps and helps to control high blood pressure, improves sleep, and can calm the nerves. Magnesium is very important for the normal functioning of cells, nerves, muscles, bones, and the heart. McDowell's Ginger Turmeric helps to relieve pain, decrease nausea and enhance the immune function to help protect against illness and infection. Ginger turmeric has powerful anti-inflammatory properties and improves your circulation. Don't hold health back. Let health strike back. McDowell's, the better way to start your health. Visit Health Service Center, John Compton Highway, call 453-6417. Let your wellness be our stress.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into and staying with The Real Issues with me, Shelton Daniel, your host and producer. My special guest in studio today, Senator Hajiana Toussaint Shallery. She is from the constituency of Vieux Fort North. She says she originally came from Vieux. Still live there?
Yes,
all right. So, she is never separated from her roots. And she is the operations manager of the Vieux Fort Goodwill Fishermen's Cooperative Society. And of course, as her title suggests, she is a senator. And I have been alongside her in the Senate as a temp. And I can tell you, when she is there, she's always in form and on fire, Love serving alongside her. We have our first caller. Hello. Hi, caller.
Good afternoon, Shelton.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Shelton. Good afternoon to your viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
And a special good afternoon to Senator Toussaint Shallery.
Good afternoon, Miguel.
I thank you. I'm not disappointed. I have two things, and they're fisheries related. The first one is, I really want you to tell the listeners and viewers about the fuel rebates given by this current administration to the fishers, and how receptive they have been to that, vis-a-vis the fact that the former Prime Minister, in an interview with all the media present, when I asked him the question, when they had decided to cap the fuel at $13.95, and mind you, they were collecting more than the $4.50 excise tax that they had increased, right? The $4, excise tax that they had increased. He said that there would be no, benefits or any allowances given to the fishers. So, as of course the head of the Fishermen's Cooperative in the South, I would like you to just give us your experience in terms of the fishers' reaction to that and how they are reacting to the rebates given by the current government. And it's not only for people who are listed out for the Labour Party supporters, because I think there are people who are out there, UWP supporters listening right now, and they really need some enlightenment on that. And number two, the failures, of the what appears to be the failures of the Dennery and the Astoria fish fry. From your perspective, why do you think these things keep failing? Because one of the issues and the reasons proffered by someone who was deeply involved is that the vendors themselves have been averse to going towards a sort of a cooperative model where they all buy the fish and stuff in bulk, and in that way they can sell it cheaper. Because one of the complaints about those things have always been the price of the things like the fish, the seafood sold at Astoria and Dennery, which people have sort of contributed to the decline in patronism or patrons of those activities. But that's it.
Yeah.
So if I can tackle the last one first, in terms of what the specific issue is as regards to these activities, I am really not sure why they've not perhaps taken the life form that they were intended to take. I think, though, Miguel, that that Honorable Wayne Girard would be offended to hear you say in terms of the failure of the ancillary fish fry, because just on Sunday I heard him speak of the revival of that activity, and so I think certainly there is some value in it. I am hoping that it's at the juncture where they've looked at what had created the little issues that they had, and now that they've started, because I even heard him say that some of the vendors and some of the residents are asking for it to be more often than it is now. But he indicated that, you know, let's take it a step at a time. So I think that they've noted the value in it, and I'm hoping as well that whatever the issues that created it was stopped at some point, that they've looked at these issues and determined how to make it a little more viable. Of course, we know that the price of fish is not regulated, and so the price is really determined by the market forces of demand and supply. And so there is not much currently that can be done on that front.
The only thing we know is that VAT is not charged on things like that, because insofar as government saying you can't sell a price of tuna, a pound of tuna for more than
that amount.
It's not price control.
Yes, that's correct. What we've seen, though, is obviously an increase in some of the inputs that the fishermen use for the fishing expeditions. And like Miguel mentioned in his previous question, there was definitely the issue of the effect that the increase of the cost of the fuel had on fishers. It was really something that affected them when the price was increased. So, of course, when we heard that the Prime Minister, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, announced that there would have been $1 added. And just for a bit of a historical background, it's not a new rebate that was given to the fishers. There had been the rebate is something that had been done for many years now. The price in terms of the return on every gallon has been changed.
He sends a line where he says, "I'm talking about prior to now."
Yes, has been changed over time. I think one of the most significant changes before now did happen under the Kenny Anthony administration against Senator Labour Party. And so it stood before this change by Honorable Philip J. Pierre, it stood at a return of $1.50 on every gallon consumed. So based on the regulations, it is for persons who are members of a fishermen's cooperative. So we have 9 fishermen's cooperative in all around the island of St. Lucia and all of the major fishing communities. And every individual who is a member of a fishermen's cooperative is entitled to a fuel rebate. So that may be an encouragement, Shelton, for persons to become members of the cooperative. So definitely the added $1 to the...
Hold on, Nicola, hold on. Let her just finish her sentence.
So it is now $2.50 on every gallon consumed, Shelton. And I think the fishers have received it. They've welcomed it, Shelton.
That's a good relief.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
So they spend it on the fuel, but they're able to get it back on a quarterly basis. They get a little something back.
Don't name me, but I have long admired Senator Kejiana, her confidence, presentations, commitment to her constituencies of agriculture, etc., and her community. Best to her. We need our strong, focused women leaders.
Thank you for that.
Yes. Caller, good afternoon. Real Issues, you're on the air.
Good afternoon, Shelton.
Good afternoon to you.
How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Good afternoon, Kejiana.
Hi, Cornelia. Good afternoon to you.
I understand that you have the bloodline of Ramopolio as well. That is, you're part of the same bloodline.
Hello, I'm a polio. Period. Point blank.
What's that?
I'm a polio.
Okay, all right. Well, you see the Jacob which you got from Monrepo. I demand that that you release it, back to Monrepo and so on, and stay in your polio.
Let me tell you something.
And stay in your polio-ness, okay? That I wasn't negotiating with you. Jacob that you have is from Monrepo. You have the polio, which is already a proud and expansive heritage. La J. Jacob Nubanuku Monrepo. Go ahead.
La J. Jacob la don second, oui. Je bâtis me supposé.
Right, okay.
Papa moi.
D'accord.
Mais papa moi c'est je bâtis. Mais moi c'est was polio. Moi maman moi qui polio. Te me do. regarding the cultural legacy of the Polio family in the cultural capital, I'm a proud Polio. Proud Polio, and that's I'm one of the very.
Oh my goodness! What have I done? What have I done, Monsieur? Mabaishen.
Yes.
Mabaishen, Monsieur.
Actually, I was going to talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Sunday.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sunday. We have to highlight Sunday.
Okay.
Sunday we in Belleville. We. You understand? And since we in the south, we closer to St. Vincent, we bringing Rav Gonzalez over to enjoy with us the protection of our victory, the continuance of progress in this country. Don't mind when the gogos who cannot reach because they short, they cannot reach the heights that the men they refer to as retarded has attained in 3 years, because in almost 6 years they did nothing. So on Sunday, AGM, all of St. Lucia is going to come and support. And what Guy Joseph did there, he has no clue, is to ensure that more people will show up in Belleville on Sunday to continue on the road to progress. And we were looking at another 5 years. Guy Joseph just automatically stamped another 10 years. I'm a Jacob who's a Polio in bloodline. I'm saying goodbye.
You do not live in Monrepo. You are not from there. You have settled.
And by the way,
you have
know that in the Jacob family have the cultural history.
Of course, yes, I know. I know that. So I'm saying release the Jacob so we can strengthen our cultural thing in Monrepo and do your thing down in Vieux Fort. You're an animator. You can't be animating both sides, okay? Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
All right, someone sent me a message where they say, "Hi, good day. Ask the senator why they're not doing anything about the garbage problem at the Fisheries complex in Vieux Fort. The place is very unsightly, garbage all over the place." Mr. Daniel, I know you have a lot of influence. Is it possible that you have a talk with the Prime Minister to initiate an island cleanup campaign? St. Lucia is extremely dirty and unsightly. Please, I want to see this happen. Is there?
So I don't think it's correct for the person to say that we're doing nothing about it, Shelton. It's definitely a challenge. I mean, I too spend 8 hours, sometimes more a day, for at least minimum 5 days a week in this place, and I cannot understand.
Can we put that other call on hold and we'll get to it?
How the people themselves, who it's not somebody coming from outside coming to drop the garbage in the space, you know. It's the very users of the space, the very fishermen who need to take it seriously.
So what kind of garbage are we talking about? Scales and fish gills?
No, plastics and everything, right. Shelton, and all refrigerators and tutsaki pabo. And
so not things really, they're using, they just come and just like use there as a place where they just...
Yeah, so for example, you might walk in there and see a couple of old rusty refrigerators that once were being used for the storage of fish. They brought it down there, they found a way to bring it down there, they're using it, but when it no longer is usable, they don't take it out.
So don't
and
they
over
have
the years, the
cooperative that can take that away?
The cooperative has spent a lot of even our personal money, the members' money, Shelton, sometimes to truck these items out of the place and
now,
blink your eye and now
it's all the way up to the glow. You have to take it now.
Blink your eye and it's back.
Now I'm saying you can't you can't take it over to the old landfill now. It's up to Castries.
Oh, I was not even aware that you can't do it directly there.
No, what I'm saying, didn't they close down the landfill?
Oh well, it's not. Is it completely closed?
Yeah.
They do the trucking, so I'm assuming that you may be able to go there.
Because I thought you had to pay money to take this bulk.
So it really has to take. It really has to be something that the users of the space themselves, the fishermen, need to understand that when you drop a plastic bottle on the ground instead of the bin, where the garbage collection happens a couple times a week, if you're going to drop it on the ground instead of the bin, this is the same thing that will end up in the water and choke the very fish that you need to catch to feed your family. Until we understand these things, Shelton, and they take ownership of these things. No matter kimizi ulatwe there, you say labitid layo ni say sayoka kotine fe.
To the second part of your message, writer, where you said that about an island-wide cleanup campaign, I'm all for the cleanup campaigns, but how often will we do the cleanup campaigns and people will come back to do the same thing? You know, the only reason Castries does not look every morning like a Paxodi, it is because the Castries Constituency Council, under the leadership of Mayor Geraldine Lendo Gabriel, put out so much effort and resources and so on to make sure that before dawn, they do a massive comprehensive cleanup. They have to do that every day around the clock. But that doesn't change the fact that you have people who are going out and overturning garbage bins deliberately, and these people are a health hazard and risk and so on of contamination in the place, and people just keep dropping. And you need to ask yourself whether the cleanup by the authorities, whether community involved and so on, if it is not in fact encouraging them,
because they said that then janitor council that is the attitude of our people.
We almost had to. Let's take our final call. Hi caller, good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon. You have to be brief. We're at the end of our program. Hello? Yeah, you have to be brief. Go ahead.
Yeah, just one thing I want to say. I just want to say to Miss Toussaint, I've been watching her in the house, and I think Sheldon, after Musa finally qualified in politics, I think she should be the next representative for Vieux Fort North.
Okay, thank you very much.
Her, I can safely say that she's a hard worker, hard-working young lady.
All right.
So maybe after Musa qualified today, I think she should be the next representative for Vieux Fort North.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the encouragement.
Now, the lotto which we get live might cut in at any time, but just your wrap-up words, Senator.
So again, Shelton, I want to end like I started, to just encourage everybody to be in Bellevue on Sunday. Be in Bellevue. We have a dynamic guest speaker, as we've said, in the person of Honorable Ralph Gonzalez, and it's definitely a time, a celebratory moment, a time for us to celebrate the achievement of the Labour Party. So if you have benefited from the laptop program, that's an opportunity for you. If you've benefited from the changes in the healthcare, I heard just even when we went on break.
We have to wrap up now. The lotto is here. Sorry about that, Senator Salary. Please, that just shows that you have to come back, okay? So, thanks, Jaquan. And
thank
on
you.
16th October 2024 were Double Daily Grand 11, 18, 20, 22. Big 4, 6, 1, 4, 6. Big 4 Multi-X 5X. Pick 2, 2, 8. Pick 2 Multi-X FP. 1 off 6, 0, 2. Lucky 3, 5, 1, 0. Lucky 3 Multi-X FP.
The man, the voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.